Oh, that's when I rode the bus to high school
Right.
from the South Farm, and Dad, of course, every once in a while was cash short. Can you imagine with 10 kids? And I can remember that one time, and the bus fare was $5 a month. And I can remember this one month when he didn't have money. And I remember standing in the bedroom. He was still in bed in the morning, and I was getting ready to go to school, and I was asking him for that $5, and he just said, I simply don't have it. So I had to go and tell the superintendent that my dad doesn't have $5 for the bus fare. I'll just have to wait. But I can remember that. See, you
Now
think my life's been easy, Harold, but I have had a lot
Now
of
these
problems.
run these buses all over here for free and take them every
When
place
did
for
I
a
ever say
game.
your life was easy? I don't remember saying that.
You think it, though.
Yeah.
Whether you say it or not, it doesn't matter if you think it, see.
I don't even.
I told you you were
Harold,
reserved, and you don't
I don't
even
even
think
Tell us a little bit about your experience up there in Alaska.
Alaska? Well, that was
Well,
quite,
wasn't that 3 summers?
well, that's sure later, but I was, see, and this involves Pa too, because when he figured out that I was gonna go to Pacific Lutheran College.
You mean Seattle Pacific?
No, Pacific Lutheran, I went there for the first year.
Oh, really?
And the president of this place was Dr. Seth Eastpole, who practically created the place. And he was the guy who was the district president that came to Woodburn and got
kidding.
Pa to resign.
Yes.
And he was the president of the school?
Yes.
He was the president of Pacific Lutheran.
Did he know the relationship of you to him?
I don't know. I don't know the bug study. I'm sure Pa was aware of it. But Pa, of course, thought back on that experience very, very, as a very traumatic one, and he shouldn't have resigned, and he shouldn't have, you know what I mean. Anyway, but when I was going to go to Pacific Lutheran, Dad got hold of B.T. Gabrielson, I think. Because Luther, you see, had gone to Alaska working on the fish traps and made good money for seminary, whatever, college. And so he got a hold of BT, and BT had these Norwegian friends of his in Seattle there, and they got me on this thing. And of course, they got you on an airplane, you know, in Seattle, flew you up to Alaska, and then you get on a little seaplane, fly you into this salmon canning plant. And you work there in the summer. You can't spend any money. There's nothing to buy. And of course they feed you like unbelievable. We had 4 big meals a day, and you live there all summer. You build these huge fish traps, which are made out of these logs, huge logs that I suppose are 100 feet long or something.
How many summers did you work up there?
I can't remember whether it was 2 or 3. 2 or 3. But it was, I gained weight up there and everything. And then after you get these things built and in place out in the ocean kind of on, you know, you live in those little cabins on top of these traps. And you are the 2 guys in each cabin. And then the boat comes around and takes the fish that are caught in.
How do the fish get caught in these log traps?
Well, it's same thing as a crab trap.
Oh,
You know
really?
what a crab trap is?
They were that big, huh?
There's a little crab trap.
No, I'm talking about these salmon traps.
That's right. It has these huge compartments made out of chicken wire that hang down into the water. First of all, you have a lead that goes out from the shore. I don't know how long, 500 feet or 1,000, whatever. And then there's a chicken wire thing that hangs down from this cable. So the fish come swimming along, and they're trying to find their stream to go and spawn, you see. You get them all. I mean, it just decimates the population. And they hit this thing, and of course they can't go ahead, so they go out towards sea, and then they have these compartments, and they swim from one into the next one, and each one is, the entrance is a little smaller until the last one is made out of cotton web, you know, so it can be pulled up.
Oh.
And they get in there and they just swim around and around and around. They can't find their way out.
Oh.
And the boat comes and empties them out.
How do you pull up that cotton web thing?
The winch on the ship pulls that thing up.
What's your purpose in the cabin?
We're watchmen. We have to cut the weeds away and shoot sea lions and stuff.
Oh, You had a gun and?
Yeah, we had a rifle there. And we're to keep the thing clean, and of course,
So you just tended those things?
Yeah, that's right.
All summer long, huh? You didn't actually work in the cannery?
No, that's right, not at all. We spent half the summer building the traps, and the other half the summer as watchmen.
And what kind of money did they pay you?
Oh, it wasn't so great, maybe $350 a month, but that was free and clear. At the end of the summer, you had $1,000, which at that time was a lot of money.
Yeah.
In fact, that was...
Is that how you worked your way through college? How long were you at Pacific Lutheran then?
Only 1 year. I didn't like it. I didn't feel at home there. I was really struggling. I was reading Martin Luther's book and thinking, feeling like Martin Luther felt.
Then you went from there to...
I transferred to Seattle Pacific, and I really, it was just like coming home. Felt really
So how long were you there then?
2 years. That's where I met Evelyn.
And then you went to Whitworth?
And then the reason I finished at Whitworth was because I had a full-time job at a Christian radio station there. And I got into Christian radio, and I never went to seminary, ever. That's what happened.
Yeah. Well, one of the items I got on the list we could jump to now is when I was on my ship, we went to Seattle, went up through Puget Sound and went to Seattle, and Harold was radio station jockey, disc jockey in Seattle. And he knew that I liked this song that Dean Martin sang in those days, Vaya con Dios, and so he dedicated this song to me, and I was listening.
Was it Vaya con Dios, or was it... that was
Hey, Sarah, Sarah, one or the other. This is your last day here, and so forth, stuff like that. They kick it off.
Oh, good night. All right, Harvey wants to say this is we're going home tomorrow. We had a wonderful time, and we had a great turkey dinner at Grace's last night. We're going to Charbonneau today, and roast here tonight. And we want to correct.
We're going to roast
that song that Harvey liked so much that I played for him over the radio in Seattle was That's Amore by Dean Martin. I said, this is for the fleet set to sail for Tokyo tomorrow. Something like that.
Very good.
Nah, it's not true.
You are really good. Okay, I got a couple of, I thought these were cute jokes, and I wrote them down, and I want to get them in here. One, they have to do with these two really old men. They were World War II. We're here recording our last word in Testament. And you said that already?
I went through this whole thing.
Well, anyway, here we go. I saw this thing on TV, and I thought it was so funny about these two really old men that they're 85 years old, and they had been in the South Pacific.
You're looking at the paper. In
World War II. That's right, but I got to look at my notes. Anyway, because I can't tell a joke anyway without looking. Anyway, this one guy said to the other one, he says, do you remember those saltpeter tablets they used to put into our soup in the South Pacific to help us not think about girls so much? I think those tablets are starting to take effect. And this other one, this 85-year-old guy was walking along, and all of a sudden he thought he heard something, and he looked down, and all he could see around was a frog. And sure enough, this frog was talking to him and says, if you pick me up, I'll turn into a beautiful woman and be your slave for life. So he picked this frog up and put it in his pocket, and then he heard this frog talking again. This frog said, if you take me out of your pocket and kiss me, I'll turn into a beautiful woman and be your slave for life. So the man said, in view of my age, I think I'd rather have a talking frog.
Oh, that's stupid. Over dumb.
Well, over dumb. That's one of the expressions. Shall we start out with the expressions?
No, Evelyn should tell, we were talking about Pa, and you do it.
She doesn't. She's sitting over there. Now, we only have...
Just that one comment. 3 H's, she says, for your dad, and tell about his conversation with you. Conversation with you going down to Woodburn, that he listened.
That you got that on the earlier.
No, it isn't. Tell it for crying out.
You look particularly beautiful today, Evelyn. Now, what did you do to yourself? You must have slept good.
What were the 3 H's?
Hospitality, humility, and honesty.
That's pretty well characterized. Yes, that's very good.
Yeah, at my first meeting with him, I was so young and naive, and here was somebody who listened to me, and I just thought that was the greatest honor I could have, to have someone to listen to you. And he seemed to be really listening. Maybe I was too naive, but he seemed to be. So that was special.
No, I can enlarge on that.
That's the way he was.
She's exactly right, and I remember the conversation. We were driving to Woodburn, and Evelyn was expounding to him the scriptures. She was, and he was listening, you know. And here's the guy, you know, been through college and seminary and everything, and you know, Evelyn.
And I would dare to.
She was a beginning college student, you know, but that's the way he was. He thought, well, you know what, she's got something here. And he's, you know, I've never heard that before. And
It was his
that
way.
was the quality he had, that
Yeah.
people really
Making
enjoyed.
people feel good. Okay, now, we're gonna talk about the words that Mother used to use. What was
Street
that
of
word?
Arden.
Street of Arden, yeah.
Street of Arden. Now, I think that
Now, we
means-
wrote that down this morning, to how you spell that,
Oh, get out.
but
I
think
can't find that
means-
paper.
That means, oh, the troubles in this world, trials in
Street
this
of
world.
Arden, she'd say.
She'd say that a lot, yeah.
Yeah,
Streeted in the garden.
yeah. Now, what are some of the other expressions? She always said the word aggravated. Makes me so aggravated, and of course the right word is exasperated, and of course I learned that in school, so I thought, of course it is.
Oh,
Aggravated means to make worse. Exasperated means to make angry. Now that's the correct definition. You see, that's what happens when you go to college. You learn these
well,
things.
she was made worse too, believe me.
Okay.
Hard life.
Now where are we here?
That, you know, we talk about having time to yourself, and then we usually think of in terms of hours in the day. Mother's time to herself was about 5 minutes to sit down and have a cup of coffee and
To read the Morning
Glory. That was
That's about it.
that was her entertainment for the day.
Are you going to run this show, or am I going to run it?
Yes, well,
Now let me see those notes that I got here too.
I can't believe
You gotta turn that thing off.
this is crazy.
Well, do you want to talk about the calcimine on the walls at Adolph's house?
Well,
What's that all about?
No, that was at,
It was Adolph's house.
they had calcimine up in the upstairs at Stensett Farm too.
They
Oh,
did.
yeah.
It was
Oh,
a mess.
absolutely.
It was a mess. I know that. It wasn't regular paint. It was some kind of cheap junk. I don't know.
Well, we worked on another guy's house, the Tom Thompson house. Was it John Thompson?
John Thompson.
John Thompson, who lived down by the Tangans and stuff. What was Harold Tangen? Was Harold Tangen the son or the father?
Harold Tangen was the son,
What
one
was
of the
the
younger
father's
sons.
name? Why can't we remember? I can't.
They had a Harold and a Doris. Harold, Doris, and
Yeah, I can remember the kids, but I can't
George.
remember.
George Tangen.
It's funny how I can remember the names of those people. The Torgersons, they lived right there across the road from the Swensons.
Roy Torgerson.
Yeah, but we spent a lot of time at this Thompson place. And Dad did a lot of work on their house too, because for a while it looked like we were going to move there. I think we were going to move there from Adolph's house. And then that was before the farm became available. Now, who's going to tell about Dad's conversion experience at Red Wing Seminary? Because we've got to get this on somewhere.
Oh, about Hollisby,
Hollis.
wasn't it? What, is that where Hollisby came to speak to Red Wing Seminary?
This is the statement that made it click for him.
He's in
When
Fargo, North
Hollis
Dakota.
stood up.
Yeah.
Fargo, North
He said, I
Dakota.
have come here all the way from Norway. Now, go ahead, tell him what it
To
says.
tell you that God had to let you sink so low that you have to,
Depend on him for everything.
You have no place to look but into the nail-scarred hands for everything.
Yeah,
you know, guard, and
yeah.
something like that, and he thought.
Up to that time, he'd been struggling to try to figure out just what he was supposed to do. Of course, being a Norwegian and coming from Norway, and coming from a Lutheran church.
Now, he
And like all of us anyway, most of us think that we have to do something in order to earn our salvation. We still think that way. A lot of us who are supposedly born again, we
supposedly.
think we're think about it. You think we should go to church and all these things?
Yeah, I started to have that idea.
It's in this book.
that-
Fellowship, one of the 3 keys to a happy Christian life.
Yes, but you,
I sort of have
there's
this-
a fine line, Evelyn, between thinking you're gonna get something for it and doing it because you think you need to do
Oh,
it in order to stay on the good side of the Lord.
Well, that's all the difference in the world, but I have this perverted idea that people go to church. Maybe it's because I'd be out of a job if they didn't.
That's what I suspect.
That's it.
You have an ulterior purpose.
That's it.
Fellowship-
All right, that's enough on that
fellowship's
now.
important.
Well, but I think that Paul had some besetting sins, which he, of course, was
Struggling with it.
humble enough to tell everybody about. Nobody else in the world would ever do it.
That's, that's right.
So that was what
You
it
got
was.
that right.
Anyway, I suspected sometime Martin Luther was struggling with the same thing, but anyway. And brought us the Reformation in the process.
Yeah, right.
You know what? I kept this thing about Spurgeon. You were talking about the greatest
Preacher there
preacher of all
was.
time, and I said I suspected he meant Spurgeon.
I said Spurgeon.
Yeah, you said Spurgeon, but I said before you said it, I wondered that was who you're talking about. And I took this thing out of the Bible study hours study guide because I thought this, and it happens to be about Spurgeon. And listen to what it says here. This is really good. He says, this is a portion of the Psalms that appealed strongly to Charles Haddon Spurgeon. His middle name was Haddon, Haddon, who identified with Asaph's physical and spiritual anguish closely. Spurgeon's studies of the Psalms were produced between 1865 and 1885, and during those 20 years, he experienced much ill health, which continued to deteriorate until his death in 1892. He had neuralgia and gout, which left him with swollen, red, painful limbs, so that he frequently could not walk or even write. He had debilitating headaches, and with these physical ills came frightful bouts of depression, leading almost to despair. In later years, he was forced to leave London for the sunnier, drier weather in southern France during the months of November, December, and January. In fact, he was in France at the Mediterranean village of Menton when he died. This gives us some appreciation for what he was talking about when he wrote on Psalm 77. Spurgeon said, "Some of us know what it is, both physically and spiritually, to be compelled to use these words. No respite has been afforded us by the silence of the night. Our bed has been a rack to us. Our body has been in torment, and our spirit in anguish. Alas, my God, the writer of this exposition well knows what thy servant Asaph meant, for his soul is familiar with the way of grief. Deep glens and lonely caves of soul depression, my spirit knows full well your awful gloom." Those are the words of Spurgeon. And I'm glad I got that in there, because I've been keeping this stuff, you see.
We have so many sermonettes. If you're going to start sermonettes, we're a load of, you know.
Well, I know that you're jealous because you're a minister and you want
That's
to
right.
have the center stage, but now you can go ahead.
I want
in the genes,
equal time. What I was going to say about Spurgeon was that he was the
Helen, if you're going to laugh, you have to laugh so we can hear it.
We're gonna
We
be-
can't-
perhaps
Don't
the greatest.
worry, it picks it up.
Well, even the comedy shows on TV have a phony laugh track, so that's your role.
Yeah.
So you just go ahead and that's it. That's
When I raise my hand, that's when you laugh.
Okay.
Maybe we should have one of those applause cards or laugh cards.
Spurgeon was the greatest, one of the greatest preachers ever lived, and he was never ordained. That's what I wanted to get in there, got it in there.
Very good. That'll
Oh,
make
okay.
Martin feel better.
That's right, that's what it's for then.
Martin feel better.
Okay, if he ever sees this crazy.
What's this people who visited our home? What's that all about?
Okay, there was one about, Helen, about when,
Ooh.
when Dad, you said you're 5 years old. And
Yeah, that's a
you
good
were-
one.
And Dad was talking, everybody he met, he was talking to them about their soul or whatever. And you, on the way home, Helen, 5 years old, says, "How come, Dad, you talk to everybody about their soul, you never talk about mine?"
Never
right.
talked to,
Talk to me.
you never talked to me?
You never
Never
talked to me.
about mine.
And then what
She
happened?
was 5 years old.
Then what happened?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I imagine he talked to me about my soul.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did. Okay.
All right. Now,
Let's see.
how about this some of these
Oh.
sayings of,
All right, we're back here. Harvey liked this saying. Better to keep your mouth shut and have people think you a fool than to open it and remove all doubt.
that's a good one.
Yes.
There was one other too.
But I was telling Harvey earlier today about, over the years, we didn't see much of him. Once we split ways, it was, very
Well, I
brief,
deliberately kind of stayed.
very brief visits. And it was hither and yon. But I remember one occasion, whenever we'd get together, instead of having any kind of decent fellowship, we'd just argue about something. And I remember one visit, we went to an officers club in Seattle. Evelyn was along and all our kids. And he came out of this,
All our kids, there were none.
whatever was going on, and visited with us. I don't know, it was about an hour maybe, and all we did was argue about social drinking, whether it was sin or not.
Really?
And after I left, I thought, how stupid. We see each other about once every 3 or 4 years, and this is what we spend our time doing. It's so stupid. But anyway, that's what we did. No comment?
Well, I think that, no, I think that's probably right. I can't argue with it, I suppose.
Yes, okay.
I have so many items on here that sounded so good when I put them on here, but now somehow or another they've lost their
I
flavor.
don't even know what they mean.
Is there something about the bread losing its yeast or something? Something losing its, there's something in the Bible about
Yeah.
something loses its, now come on, you know all this stuff by heart.
Yeah, but it doesn't have anything to do with this. That's the problem.
Okay. One of the things that I remember from that Norwell Lake community, we should probably check these off if you jump around because we might not know we've done. But anyway, I remember back there, they were so concerned about having anything to do with spirituality that they wouldn't even refer to the Bible as the Bible. They'd refer to it as the good book. You know,
That's right.
The good book. That kept it far enough away so that it wouldn't really affect their lives.
Pa was the only one in the community that used the word Jesus. And so they called him the Jesus man.
That's exactly, now you're getting,
Is that
Alan's
right?
getting in the rhythm now, you see.
Well, did you hear about the the preacher came to the house and he says, do you read the Bible? You have the Bible around here? Do you read the Bible? He says, oh, yes. He says, we read. Sonny, go get that book that we read all the time. And the boy came back with a Sears Roebuck catalog.
I want to tell an experience that I had as a young boy. I suppose I was about 13 years old. When Dad had planted this field of corn up toward the Mankles, and there was it was an ice cream social, some kind of a church social, at the Mankles' house, and a lot of people there and everything. And I was extremely shy and afraid of people in those days. I don't understand where I ever got that from, but I was extremely
We
shy.
all were.
And anyway, so just getting out of the car and going and walking over to join the boys was a frightening experience for me.
Yeah.
And I remember this Larson boy, about my same age as I was, and it was the son of the guy that was a barber in New London. His name was Larson, but I can't remember what his first name was, but Dad went to school with him. And I remember Dad talking about how this guy used to put him up to mischief all the time, particularly involving girls. And Dad was just as backward with girls and he was a boy as I think we were when we grew up. But anyway, because I remember some of the stories he told about this guy, but he cut hair in New London there. His name was Larson. Anyway, it was his son. And I remember he came over to me and he said, "Is that your cornfield down there?" You know, and I immediately was on the defensive because I'm sure there was something wrong with that cornfield. And then he says, "Yeah," I guess I said, "Yeah, I guess it is." And he says, "That corn is the straightest corn I have ever seen planted." And Pa had made particularly sure that that corn was planted straight because he had that new John Deere tractor, which was not a row crop, and it had a 3-row cultivator on it. See, that John Deere was made for a 3-row corn planter, and it had a 3-row corn cultivator. But when he bought the tractor, it had the cultivator, but it didn't have the corn planter. And he couldn't find one. So he had to plant with a 2-row horse-drawn corn planter and plant it straight enough so that we could cultivate it with this 3-row, and he had me out there at that age, so I had to be 13 or 14. It was the last year we farmed. And I ran that great big John Deere tractor, and some of those hills were pretty steep and stuff, and the thing would slide around and everything. And but I can remember he took a couple shovels off one side, and we used that tractor because, of course, it was a wonderful way to cultivate.
Didn't we have a Hart Par tractor or something like that?
We had a John Deere general purpose tractor. And I think he got some airplane tires and put on the rear. It came with lugs.
Yeah.
It had rubber tires in the front. But
Steel lugs.
but anyway, the thing that illustrates to me is, these are the things that stick in your mind. And I still think that the best theme for next year would be for me to start a list of the traumas, right from the
The
youngest.
trauma list.
And we'll use that as a theme. Now, unless you want to do it,
We
but
have
you may
some-
not have any traumas.
Oh, I have a few, and
You
we
want
should,
to tell us about a couple?
we should be able to have enough traumas to excuse most anything.
But what were your great times?
Well, you want to, should we have a good time list?
Well, that'd be okay.
That might offset the
I don't have
traumas.
that much to talk about.
You don't have much.
Oh,
But
gee.
you probably do. But I think that if you really thought about it, I think you could come up with some traumas.
Oh,
Come up
yeah,
with some good ones too.
sure. But I want to tell, I don't know if this is on any of these videos about when Dad had a nervous, well, he was back on the farm and he was sick half the time and he was, I don't know, the nervous
It was a rough time.
nervous breakdown came in here someplace.
No.
And he went out in the field one day, I remember he told, of course he told these stories, dozens of times, that's why I remember them. And he said he went out with the sheep and sat on a rock and he looked at the sheep and he said, I'm a child of God without doing a thing. And he said at that time I couldn't pray, I couldn't read the Bible or nothing.
Yeah.
I was so down.
That's when he was,
That's the way you get when you get real depressed.
Yeah.
But along
You've
there
experienced that, have you?
Oh, yeah, but along there someplace, somebody, and I don't know who it is, said, Harvin, don't stop working with souls. And he had stopped, of course. He was
I
down.
doubt that.
Oh, yes, but then he started in again, and he started in on Valborg Strand. He lived on the next farm, and I still remember her sitting in the kitchen there, and he talked to her by the hour, and she would always have the standard reply, yes, there's some truth in that, which is about as non-committal as you could get. And I asked him years later, I said, did she ever get saved? And he said, I believe I'm going to see her in heaven because God wouldn't have burdened me for her if she wasn't going to find
Well,
saved. And now you tell me that she is.
Oh, she's a Christian today.
She is a Christian
You bet.
today. Her husband, of course, had a terrible drinking problem. Would go to town and never come back, and it was really a mess.
He was over there helping milk her
They
cows.
lived right on the next farm.
He'd go over there, as much work as he had to do, he'd go over there and help those cows and everything. It was really great to see, and of course, it set a good example for the rest of us.
Do you remember the day that their pigs were all out and they had ice an inch or foot thick on their back?
Ice on
And,
their back.
and we had to help him get those pigs in because he was gone.
Yeah.
And he came home about the time we got him in. And one dropped dead right in the door. And he butchered it, and Pa bought half that pig, and it was rotten.
Rotten? Why would it be rotten?
Because it died before we bled it.
Oh.
You don't recall that?
Isn't it interesting?
You must remember that, Harold.
It must be
Harvey.
time for Charbonneau.
Yeah.
Don't you remember that, Harvey?
No, hell, we're just getting going here now.
Oh.
Speaking of Christians, I've got an item in here that I thought was kind of cute. It's kind of in the order of Betty Fisher has been with us the last few days, and she lives down the hallway, and a fine Christian lady, and her brother, her only sibling, really, Lauren, is coming up here in about a week. And anyway, she told something really cute about his young boy when he had, his name was Dan too, like Mark's boy. And anyway, when he was 3.5 years old, he was attending a Sunday school class, and this teacher said, "Does anyone of you know a Bible verse that you can recite?" And none of the kids, and some of them were quite a bit older, stood up and said anything. But finally, this little 3.5-year-old boy stood up and he said, "How odd of God to choose the Jews." He had heard this expression apparently many times in the family, and he thought it was from the Bible. So he said, "How odd of God to choose the Jews."
Well, it is in the Bible.
Oh, it is?
Tell about, well,
Really?
not in those words.
Oh,
Not in those words,
Okay.
but in essence it is.
all right.
But JJ and Laura, tell that little story you told me this morning. That was